And we have our guest joining us in the studio this morning. It's been a while since you saw him, but today he's back. He's large and in charge. Professor Michael Ayamga. He's the Deputy Director Operations at the EPA, the Environmental Protection Authority, right? They are an authority now. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Alewa, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome, Benjamin. Yes, I'm Alewa because I'm clad in black and white. Prof, congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's a new challenge, new terrain. I'm just taking it easy and trying to get to know the place. I've never run away shy from a challenge. So a new environment where most of my freedoms and academics are somehow curtailed.
Yeah.
I have to be careful what I say from now and so on. But it's a call to duty, and I see it as a challenge. Yeah? The service means that you should be ready to go anywhere, anytime, and wherever the president thinks that we can contribute to his agenda and vision for this nation. We have to stand up to that challenge, and that is what I'm looking forward to do. Plus, I'm working under one of the most dynamic women I've encountered in my life, and I'm extremely happy to work with her. I told her the other day that the last thing we want is 2 professors coming from the university and messing EPA up. And, from what I see from her, I'm sure in a year from now, the EPA is going to be great. If you look at the numbers, she didn't inherit a very good situation, but she stepped up to the plate, and I'm quite optimistic that she's going to take the authority to new heights.
Right.
So even if I have other reservations, just by her motivation, I'm encouraged to stay on.
I like that Professor Nana Makluche-Brown is getting her flowers. Really. I got the same optimism vibe from her when we had a conversation sometime last month or 2 ago. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Anyway, so would that be your reflections this morning for us? You know, usually
that's okay.
So yeah, okay. So then let's get into the news.
No, I think I'll push him into a corner for him to tell us something else.
Let's get into it.
Environmental protection, but there's also sanitation, which is quite an issue in our country, especially as the rains are here. What do you think about where we are and how the EPA can feed into helping us resolve that issue? Yeah,
as I said, this is me as usual coming here, not in the capacity of the EPA. We have some ideas. We have to immerse ourselves into the system before we start trying to disrupt it. You can't change what you don't control. So first of all, we are looking at that. But if you look at Ghana, I was telling one of my colleagues that what has always annoyed me in this country is when it comes to residential settlement, we change the landscape, everything, build, cut trees down, finish building, put up flowers and swimming pools, and we don't care about the drains and all those things. And it's kind of difficult to keep tabs on them. But I believe that with the elevation of the EPA into an authority, it should be present everywhere. Every criminal is afraid of law enforcement, and I think that every polluter must begin to fear the EPA, and that's the posture it should put forward, that if you do anything wrong towards destroying the environment, you will have the EPA knocking at your doors, and the fines should be punitive. I would, over time, want us to shift away from just revenue generation to actually using the authority to impose that discipline in people. And we have to look at first the producers, where plastics come from. Can we get them to invest significantly to remove them? We have to probably trial some of the things that we see out there. Maybe can the sachet producer maybe take an additional tax so that somebody can pick a sachet rubber and come and put it down and take a peso or 2. I'm sure you have a whole lot of people picking rubbers. If we begin to explore those incentive-based mechanisms to tackle waste here. And it goes on and on. I believe that we need to look at the sources of the pollution and try to get them to do something more significantly to help fight the waste than just always following the assemblies and government.
Can you really decouple your personality from the role? You said you're not here in the capacity of, the Deputy Director of Operations. I'm asking because I did want to follow up with a question. Professor Nana Makluche-Brown did say that Ghana will be phasing out plastic use soon. I was wondering if you had any timelines on when we can actually see that materialize.
I think, as I said yesterday, I saw her say something relating to that, and it's a challenge given how we are addicted to plastics, and it's become to some degree a social symbol. I remember when we were young, our favorite wache used to be wrapped in what do you call it, kola nut leaves. And anyway, let me say good morning to my wache compatriot, Professor Musa, Dean of Students.
Shouts to the wache clan.
Yes. I want to greet him this morning. Shakes him back, Zandi. I'll miss him here. But that is the issue. Now we think that you want to buy the watch, you want in a takeaway package and other things. So we need to take that status symbol away from plastics and maybe begin to promote challenges that will allow for innovation in food packaging and food handling over here. I think
we can't confirm a timeline for us yet.
Yeah, we can't confirm a timeline, but I'm quite sure. I know maybe there is a timeline. I've just been there for a few days and still going around and getting handshakes and hugs all over the place. So I want to concentrate on that for now, and then maybe next
the handshake and hugs, huh?
Yes, and then
okay, let's do that. Then should we get into the news?
Yes.
It's okay. I have the Overseer, the New Republic. I'm just going to run through the headlines, and then we can discuss the stories that piques our interest. On the front page, Mahamas Ejumarura targets 10,000 startups annually. Matilda Santi Asiedu appointed second deputy governor of Bank of Ghana, and the commentary pouring in on this appointment is interesting. IMF boss commends Ghana's finance minister for strong commitments to economic reforms, and NIOP visits degraded mine sites in Elembele district. So let's get into the newspapers. Let's start from Mahamas Ejumarura targeting 10,000 startups annually, which was President John Dramani Mahama has launched the Ejumara program, a major government-backed initiative aimed at reducing youth unemployment and supporting entrepreneurship among young Ghanaians. This is in the first initiative we're launching in this country to reduce youth unemployment and support entrepreneurship among Ghanaian youth. I wonder what's they're doing differently this time, and even how hopeful you are, But I'll get to you in a bit. IMF boss commends Ghana's finance minister for strong commitments to economic reforms. And the managing director for the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, has commended Ghana's Minister for Finance, Dr. Kesel Atuforsen, and his team for their strong commitment to fund-supported program and reforms aimed at restoring macroeconomic stability. And there's also a story here about Bawumia can't exonerate himself from blame. Dr. Paul Boachedankwa, that's a former government spokesperson on governance and security. And he's saying that blame President Akufo-Addo. In a release titled Blame President Akufo-Addo, he said justification tour, which the former vice president frames as a thank you tour, is a calculated effort to distance himself from the failures of the Akufo-Addo administration and rewrite his role in the government. I'll put a pin in that and just do the story about CJ suspension demonstration. GUM not part of that agenda. Party denies involvement. The Ghana Union Movement has issued a disclaimer distancing itself from reports suggesting its involvement in a planned demonstration against suspension and pending removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Tokono. Where should we start from? Which of these stories piques your interest?
Let's start from job creation. That is the biggest problem in this country. Everywhere you go, people are calling you and asking you to place them. And one of the good things about the Ejumara initiative is now the decision and commitment of government to take risk on the side of young people. We have always taken that risk for banks, for institutions, for big businesses. And when it came to job creation, especially for young people, we more or less wanted to get them to YEA, Youth Employment Agency, and NAPCO, and all those things. The 700 Ghana cedis a month that never gets paid. And these are people who are at the beginning of their lives, have aspirations. Those jobs tend to get them dependent to direct transfers and handouts. And the problem is that you have it difficult to upscale from there. If you get 10,000 successful entrepreneurs, the multiplier effect is going to be massive, and you have young people growing their jobs and employing other young people. You cannot be sure it will work, just like many of the initiatives have failed in the past. But if we are always ready to take risk on the side of big financial institutions, the most troubling past, the billions we have spent to bail out misfiring and dysfunctional banks, I think that the right thing this government wants to do is also to say, I want to hold my feet to the fire on behalf of young people. The president went around this country, young people drove his campaign. I joined some of them, and you could feel the love anytime he arrived at the campaigns in the young people, and he's holding his promise, keeping his promise to them and creating this initiative.
Right.
I just want to believe that apart from the issue of giving them startup capitals, doing the hand-holding and doing the business-to-business linkages, we should also begin to develop their financial capacities to manage. That is the biggest problem. It's easy to start a business. Keeping it afloat is the problem. And
right.
we need to make sure that those linkages are established well for young people to go. But I'm particularly excited about that initiative.
On Ghana's, we've achieved staff-level agreements with the IMF on the fourth review.
Yeah.
What do you make of this? And then they're commending us, our commitments to economic reforms. For me, I know the ordinary person is asking, what does this mean to the money in my pockets and how I, survive in this country, in this economy? You're an economist. Tell us. Yes,
one of the things that stands out now is that you are beginning to see improvements in more than one economic indicator. At least you've seen that the cedi has not worsened significantly, especially since this year. And if you look at inflation since September last year, it's the first time we have seen a consistent 3-month decline. Yeah, it may be marginal, but that consistent decline in inflation is reflecting in the exchange rate, and that is a source of optimism. And I said last year that the posturing of government, the message from government, and also the desire to actually cut the number of ministries. Somebody asked me that, if you cut number of ministries, what is the savings? Minister's salary. But you forgot that a ministry came with a whole infrastructure across agencies, across regions. And if you took out one minister, you were taking out a huge proportion of state operation, which to a large extent has cut costs. And that push of the president reflects on all of us. So when I took this job, I would have looking for accommodation. I would have gone to stay in a nice hotel. I'm staying in the UDS guest house. That is because what? The president is asking us to be modest and all those things, and he's leading by example. And those things are reflecting in the economy. It's not only me, across state institutions, you see people trying to mimic the president's posture. And that cost-cutting behavior and confidence, let me say, is restoring some confidence in the business environment. And we are seeing some stability in the cedi, and then gradually but consistent reduction in inflation. Producer price inflation also came down. So what is going to happen is that if we continue on this trajectory, I think that our good days are beginning. But yes, it's early days yet, but I'm cautiously optimistic that we have turned the corner. Yes, we may have revised the growth from 4.3% to 3.9%, but I'm quite sure come September, this growth will be revised upwards again, because the issue now is the weather. We don't know how it's going to affect cocoa production, which unfortunately has been allowed to slide over the years.
Right.
And I just hope that this government also doesn't overly concentrate on gold and oil and then leave the cocoa sector. But
all agricultural sector.
Indications are that it's quite serious on them. And let's keep our fingers crossed. But I can ask Ghanaians and businesses to be optimistic. Let's live the moment.
Ben, cautiously optimistic. Any thoughts before I get to one last story here?
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic about a number of things. When it comes to Ejumara, which you've mentioned, they talk about targeting underserved groups, marginalized groups, including some sort of rehabilitation for illegal miners. Eventually, while I always say that the illegal mining scourge is not so much about employment, it's about greed, because those who are raking in the most cash, maybe 90% plus, are not those in the trenches, those digging, clawing at mud with their hands. It is the kingpins sitting in some luxurious places in, the plushest places in town who facilitate these things. And how to target them is the issue. Another problem with targeting them is that there are political actors in there from both of the sides who have ruled this country. And so it becomes problematic because whichever party is in power, you have those forces on both sides collude and connive to still keep the system going. How to deal with that is probably what we ought to look at. But then again, it is also right to target those in the trenches as well. Because if it's more attractive to get them out of the trenches, then maybe it would be a part of the solution. So I think in that regard, I am cautiously optimistic because, like you said, we've had some of these drives in the past. Let's see what will be different on this one.
Okay, so one last story in the Overseer. Vice Chancellor's Ghana demands review of retirement age for university lecturers from 60 to 70 years. So Vice Chancellor Ghana has called on the government to review and extend the retirement age for university lecturers from 60 to 70 years, citing the need to retain experienced academics and strengthen the country's higher education system. I think for the university professor, it's more like the older, the better, right?
Yes,
Prof,
yes.
what do you say on this?
Definitely. I feel much sharper than I was when I was young. I had a lot of energy. Now I think I'm much better in terms of research, in terms of engagement and so on. And I can't believe that maybe in a little over a decade I'm gone because I'm retiring. I think that we need to keep them. And in the advanced countries, they leave them till they drop dead in front of the university and they carry them away. That's because even if they are not actively involved in university administration, they mentor young people. The problem with this country is we think anybody with a PhD can become a university professor, but it's far-fetched. It comes with certain internal and innate abilities that only old professors can identify and nurture. And if we don't do that, then you have professors increasingly being asked to go home. And the funny thing is that I find it surprising that sometimes these people ask for post-retirement contracts and you are dragging their feet. It's not an issue of they coming to teach. Their presence there more or less is a quality control for the system. So it's a call, I think, late, but better now. And I will ask government to heed. I'm out here. I don't know whether I'll go back or not. I told my wife I'm coming back next year. I just want to have a feel of the system. But I may not go back. But regardless of that, many of the professors we have now cannot be replaced by new recruitments. They can only be replaced by a gradual transfer of their knowledge networks and systems to the next generation. And you can't achieve that if you ask them to go and sit home. So government and all stakeholders have to see this, not within the framework of revenue and the burden on the wage bill, but the quality that, the stability that it brings to the system. I don't want, for example, that in my last 10 years, I shift focus from building capacities, building institutions to building my pension home and other things. And that is always the problem, that if you don't give people the stability around this time, I have a lot of networks. Do I have to direct them to my personal interests or do I direct them to institutional growth in the university? And I think that this call is going to give professors the confidence, the tenure security to still work like young people and invest everything they get to the university. So at the end of the day, I'm optimistic that one thing that's going to happen is that the universities and the education system in this country is going to benefit from this.
Okay, so the New Republic next, and just two stories here that I want to do. First, Vice President opens Mental Health Awareness Month. And in a groundbreaking event set to ignite change, Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman is set to kick off Mental Health Awareness Month on 30th April 2025. That's tomorrow. And we're going to see Purple Month all over again. So under the Ministry of Health's Mental Health Authority, the month of May will glow with the color purple, that's right, as a beacon of hope and understanding. And the Vice President will be joined by Health Minister Kwabena Mintah-Kandor, Health Authority CEO Professor Pinamana Pao, and a number of stakeholders to launch this tomorrow at 10 a.m. So all eyes will be on. Let's see. I think it will be the first time, if she attends, that we'll be seeing the Vice President in a long time. So, of course, we're keeping our eyes wide open to see that. And then there's the story about the passports that I want to get out there. Yeah. Ghana unveils high-tech e-passports to tackle identity fraud, Minister Okudzeto says. And step aside imposters, Ghana is stepping up its passport game to clamp down on identity fraud with the launch of its cutting-edge chip-embedded passport, also known as the e-passports. Just these two stories for your quick reflections, and that will be it for my papers.
Yes, we are all excited to have the Vice President back. There was a lot of noise in the system when she had to attend to medical care. All of us at one point in time have to seek medical treatment. It doesn't matter how strong and fit we are, but in her case it was different. So I'm particularly excited, and I wish Her Excellency well. Tomorrow's event, many, as you said, will be watching to see how she's walking, whether the hair is straight or something like that. But I can tell you that Her Excellency is not going anywhere, and we're going to have her for a considerably long time. So thank God for taking care of our mother. The last time I was here, we talked about mental health. I don't know why here again, but that's
they knew you were coming.
They knew I was coming. As I said, it's an area that we ignore, and I just like my conversation with Ben the other time. We are all mad to a certain degree, just that we don't take it serious. And the Vice President actually putting her stamp and her integrity and image behind this would give many of us to probably begin thinking about it. At the workplace, we don't provide even systems for guidance and counseling. And you can get to work and one pressure just gets you to snap, and it starts from there. So we need to tackle that. You get to a place and you have PR, you have vehicles, maintenance and everything, but you don't have a guidance and counseling person who can sometimes help you cool off. And that is where the problems start, the depression and the other things. We don't even know what that is in Ghana, many of us, and you can go through it without knowing unless you belong to a certain class that goes there. So I'm happy that the Vice President is behind this, and at long last, I'm hoping we can take it seriously. It's not just a matter of wearing a particular cloth and having media engagement, but we see concrete steps towards institutional reform to reflect a focus on taking care of people mentally. It's not just mad people, it's not just those who need admission, but those of us who get up day in, day out. It starts gradually. So I'm particularly happy for this.
I'm looking forward to it too. I want to add my voice to it and say, take your mental health seriously. Nothing can fix you right back like a good therapy session. And we look down on, we ridicule those who go to therapy in this country as if, so you're not mentally strong enough. It's not about being mentally strong. If you need help, get help. Advocates, let's get up, and tomorrow we begin the advocacy for mental health all over again. Ben, have you had a good therapy session in a minute?
I have ways of, it's like, those kettles that whistle.
Yeah.
When you see that you are approaching boiling point where you whistle, you just find a way of, if you don't, every human being is different, and someone's capacity to take certain things may be higher, the threshold may be higher or lower, depending on the person. It's up to you to know where, the proverbial, I can't use that word, hits the fan, and then you can deal with it. My only problem, and I always say it, is that in this country, there are not anywhere close to enough entities to help with mental health issues. Yes, we have the mental health authority. How long did it take to get that? And even there, for people with real issues, because practically every workplace you go to, there are people with mental health issues. In our schools, and we take them for granted, sometimes you see a child acting a certain way. It's a mental health issue. It's not, I guess, what them all. That's not what we're saying. But the person is going through all kinds of stress, sometimes depression. That child is not acting that way for nothing. But in our part of the world, it's booga booga. Everybody for himself, God for us all. So
I think
you just have to.
I know most of the men I know don't subscribe to the Bemen Soon, hardcore. We don't need mental health.
Are you sure?
No. Most of the men I know. So for me, it gives me that opportunity and freedom to discuss mental health issues with my friends. So I'm also just listening to you. I just wanted to say that it's good to know that the men are trying. Listen, we come from a deeply patriarchal society where men are taught to be strong and hard and you don't have to seek help and all that. Slowly it's changing, I think it's the younger ones that are coming up now. The older ones, maybe their time is past. They can see, perhaps they cannot see the significance of going to sit with somebody and telling the person that I'm tired, I'm stressed. You're a man, toughen up. That was what they were taught, So I'm just saying, it's changing, and I'm glad. I'm here for it. I'm here for the change.
So just on that point, and that's where I'll wrap. I think sometimes I think it's like Paul as well. He says, when I am weak, then I am strong. There's no person who is so strong that person can't be weak. I think there's a saint who once said that it's like keeping a bow stretched throughout. If you keep a bow stretched throughout with an arrow, do you know what will happen? Over time, it will lose its elasticity. Yeah. But you only fire when you have an arrow ready. In the same way, you can't keep your mental health or strength at a certain equilibrium throughout. You will definitely face cracks. There are times I remember my dad on certain occasions, and it brings tears to my eyes. I remember when I watched The Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson's film, the first time. I wept. Every time I watch it, there's a tinge of, it doesn't emasculate me. It doesn't make me, anyone who knows me, when I tell people I'm a last born, they say no, because I don't act, I'm a tough guy. But some things naturally will draw tears. When the kidney thing was happening and people were dying and there was this person's story. It actually brought tears to my eyes. It doesn't make you any less human. Again, mental health no be macho mata.
No.
Yeah. So
but I think it's also the preparation.
Let's all just face it.
The preparation. For example, I've just moved from the university to EPA. The first thing was somebody sitting me down and telling me, okay, this will here, this is what you see here, this is what you see here. And when you see them, you don't easily get mad. When we travel for school abroad, that's the first thing they'll tell you. You do this, you meet this, you meet this, you meet somebody already trying to ease you into the system. It prevents some tension, some anxiety, and it cools things down. It's just that in our institutional framework, we don't prioritize these things, and we have to begin taking it seriously and make sure that anytime somebody appears at an interview with degrees in guidance and counseling, and you say, you didn't do accounting, you don't have economics, how can you contribute? I believe that we need to create those desks in every organization so that people can receive help, people can actually oriented to ease into systems and not try to be macho as we all do. We all cry at some point in time, even if we try to put up a brave face.
Oh, that also reminds me of some programs I've studied before. Charlie, sometimes will be in grade, no, Osuma, the person will forget that. No, I've sat in class with pretty elderly people, and Charlie, a grown man is on the verge of tears. Share. Life will humble you.
In addition to what you said, there are so many organizations who give health insurance coverage, and the coverage doesn't include mental health treatment or help. So it is also a call on these organizations and companies to include mental health in whatever health coverage or health insurance you're giving to your employees, because at the end of the day, they have to be okay up there to deliver and be productive in the work that you've employed them to do. So let's take mental health seriously. And it's everywhere. It doesn't have to be formal employment. It could be anything at all. take your mental health seriously. I think that's that for all my newspapers.
All right.
Gentlemen?
Let's get to you, Tom.
Yes, as I said, I don't have much to add apart from saying that we need to be very optimistic going forward. We're beginning to see signs of hope in the young people, and I'm particularly also passionate about how we tackle our environment, because we are beginning to see that reflecting on the economy. And if you read this report about our growth projections being revised down, it has
actually, for the benefits of our audience, that's the Economy Times.
Yeah, the Economy
Times. The story you're talking about is.
And if the Ghana's growth projections revised as World Bank and IMF reevaluate Ghana, the core discussion here is on environmental uncertainty, the issue of drought affecting cocoa production, and uncertainty about rainfall pattern this time also affecting food production. So we are beginning to see increasingly those linkages reflecting on our daily lives now. First, it used to be far-fetched, and we thought, okay, when is this going to bring home? But the environment is now key, and I only hope that stakeholders can take the environment seriously as they take the financial sector seriously, because if we fail there, we fail with the economy. That's what I want to stress here. I'm not saying this because I'm back at the I'm at EPA. I'm an economist at EPA now, so I see the nexus quite easily, and we need to maybe put some serious investment to, especially in green energy and also green growth, so that we can look at how to invest in the environment. That is a key challenge.
Right. Some other headlines from your newspaper, and then we can discuss.
I would like to also talk about the passport
okay, the
encryption tonight. One of the things...
The chip
yes,
apart
from it also being a status symbol, you know, sometimes holding a Ghana passport can be some way. You are standing in the queue and looking at other people flag their passports, and you hold yours tight and only make sure that the one receiving it doesn't overly display it for people to see how it is. I'm happy that that is being tackled now, but more is the security. It's quite easy to forge the Ghana passport. I play with young people a lot, and sometimes, especially Game Boys, sometimes I go and talk with them, and these are some of the most intelligent guys I've seen on earth, and I'm like, oh God, how do these people use this intelligence in fraud? So going this step higher would secure our passports. A lot of crime being committed in the name of Ghana. People just easily forge our passports, go and do wrong things, and they think it's Ghanaians. So we may not see the benefit. We may think that, oh, this is just a useless exercise, what is happening. But you travel out there, increasingly you hear a Ghanaian has done that, a Ghanaian has done that. Most of the time it's just the passports they forge. And if this technology is going to significantly reduce it and make it very difficult for the passports to be forged, it helps all of us. It is an identity document. You link it to so many activities, including your financial transactions sometimes. And I believe that it's a step in the right direction. I'm particularly excited that the minister talked about we getting passports in 15 days. If we are able to streamline that and make the electronic issuance of passport free of human influence, and then they say express, and the express is slower than the normal one, it will help a lot. So I'll give Honorable Akwetu Blackwell a thumbs up for his leadership at the Foreign Ministry. And I just hope this is the beginning of good things to come.
Okay.
On that very point, I just wanted to, because we spoke about passports, it's something that is powerful. And that is the reason a number of Ghanaians too are now, I mean, it's a trend that has been there for a while, but now even more so, giving birth in certain countries so that their children are now in the US, Trump, the whole birthright, citizenship thing is being looked at. But so they will give their children that leg up in terms of, okay, I'm a dual citizen, I am from these two countries. If push comes to shove, Charlie, Otilo I go to. I was just checking because there are these rankings, and Ghana's passport ranks 76th in the world. You have about 195 countries, which means technically we are faring better than about 119 countries. But which countries have the most powerful passports?
Of course.
Singapore, Japan, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, South Korea, Spain, Austria, Denmark, Ireland, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and if you go way down, you'll also find the United States, the UK, among others. These in 2025 are seen to be the most powerful passports. Why I highlight it? You know the story of Singapore and how we were practically at the same level with them. Look at where they are now. Look at where we are. But it also means that at the 76th position, we are not so bad. If you look at it comparatively, when it comes to Africa, we are not so bad. But how much better can we get?
Yeah.
A question for the gods. Any other stories you want to look at?
Perhaps we can get into the Ghanaian Times before.
Okay. So let's do this. The main stories here. Chip-embedded passport rolled out. Like you said, we did the story yesterday as well. Protesters hit across streets, demand end to Galamsey. There's been a lot of interesting talk about that. Stop blame game. Channel energies into business creation. Richard Nikwe challenges youth. President unveils a Jumara initiative to create 10,000 businesses annually. And we've spoken a lot about that. I'll not go back to it. There are many other stories to look at. Construction begins on Central Region Lands Commission Office Complex, and hoteliers want enabling environment to thrive. So the hospitality industry, according to the president of the Hotels Association of Ghana, Edward Aka Nyameke Jr., played vital roles in the promotion of tourism, and as a matter of urgency, the government should create conditions such as reduction in tariffs to help the growth of the industry. But let me get into some other stories. There are a number of stories I want to do, so I'll just blaze through them quickly and get your thoughts. OSP drags Charles Bissue to High Court over illegal mining offences. And former presidential staffer, Mr. Charles Cromwell Nanabenyin Onuawanto Bissue, had been dragged to the Accra High Court Criminal Division by the Office of the Special Prosecutor for various criminal offences related to illegal mining. Mr. Bissue, also the secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, established by former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has been charged together with Anthony Thomas Owusu for 15 counts, including using public office for profit, corruption by public office, and bribery. And this goes as far back as 2017 and everything in between. The allegations of Mr. Owusu receiving for his personal profit and benefit 35,000 cedis. It goes on and on. But I feel there was never real closure to this Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining and the fallout, including Professor Frimpong Boateng and everything he had to say about it. I think perhaps this would be the best time to take a purposeful dig into it. Partly why I say this is usually when there's an administration in power, as we have shown, that administration is usually very reluctant to delve into issues that will give it a bad name. While I personally feel that if you do it well, people will rather have trust in you that if the wrong is being done, you will expose it. But they always think it will give us bad press sometimes. So I want to see an end to that. Let me chip in. Attack on Chief of Army Staff in Boku false. That's according to the Ghana Armed Forces. And they are saying that that never happened. It's monumental on a day like this when the Otumfuo begins his work as far as helping to bring peace to Boku. And NFA, the last one I'll do for now, moves to check copyright infringements by radio and TV stations. The National Film Authority says it's working with the relevant security agencies to investigate and sanction radio and television stations that broadcast content without proper authorization. The move comes against the backdrop of growing concerns about rampant copyright infringements by several television stations across the country, a situation the NFA warns is threatening the integrity and sustainability of Ghana's creative ecosystem. And I'm sure it's also partly on the back of Bimbo's, rhetoric. I still have some personal issues there.
She's not been able to name the TV channel that is airing her content.
Oh, I see. I have my personal thoughts on that. Copyright, yes. In our part of the world, though, I'm not saying copyright doesn't apply, but there are certain nuances to it.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add something to this Galamsey issue. Our attempt to always politicize it is problematic, and you see a situation where those involved in it know definitely that law enforcement and other people are after them, and they'll definitely try to project people who can maybe reduce that to a large degree. So I find it extremely worrying that all of a sudden we say is a political activity going on and nobody is tackling it. I believe that some effort has taken place, but we need to change the strategy. You see, it's always a cat and mouse game. Can we begin going after the gold instead of just those digging? And that is what we have to think. I've been having wild thoughts. If we have the gold board there and we are beginning to certify those who can hold gold, then we probably can begin designating some gold as dirty gold because they are coming from illegal mining, destroying the environment. And these can be confiscated and sent back to reclaim the land. Maybe go after people for possession of uncertified gold and give the money to EPA, and then we'll go and do some reclamation there with the Forestry Commission. So I think that it's a mind game. If the monies that come out of the illegal mining doesn't go back to finance further digging, I believe we can solve the problem. So we have to stop chasing these people who are quite, not stop, but not only focus on chasing people digging because they understand the terrain better than you, and they seem to be having better intelligence than many. You cannot always ensure that there are no one or two people in the network that will be working with those doing illegal mining. But can we get to a point where we begin to go after the gold? And if you work with the gold board and other stakeholders, we may even find a way of certifying gold that is coming out of Ghana, done through sustainable mining. And out there, people who are conscious of the environment may shy away from either buying it. It can affect the prices. I don't know of the technology, but we have to begin exploring the other end, not just fighting Galamsey from preventing people from going after it. If we stop money from going in the financing of Galamsey, I believe it will take us a long way in the fight against Galamsey. But I'm also happy to see prosecutions so that all those of us who go out there in the name of task force and campaigns don't use that to line our pockets and become rich at the expense of future generations. So yes, it's an all hands on deck and all methods on the table. I believe that is the only way we can deal with this Galamsey thing.
Let me just chip in a bit on this Galamsey. You know, today is day 2 of the protest, and yesterday I realized that there weren't as many people on the streets as we saw last year. And not to say, I mean, I just want to encourage.
There's a protester who was there, and when he was asked why he was there, he said he had protested it under Akufo-Addo, so he was here protesting it again, which is also valid.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that if you really care about Galamsey, we shouldn't slow down at this point. You know, the fight is not won yet. So let's go out there. It's a peaceful protest. We're just trying to mount pressure on the president and say, listen, you did say that you were going to declare state of emergency. You said you were going to repeal that LI, not amended. So do what you said you will do. I'm actually just asking those who are involved, who can, pour out on the streets. Let's do this for God and country, because the fight against Galamsey will not be won if we all don't pour our voices into the matter. So go out there today and join Oketechie Efrifa and the rest of the team to register the displeasure of Ghanaians. Then.
Well, let's get into some other stories. There was something I was going to say, but I guess it's come back to mind. If you reflect on it technically, and some people may disagree with me, but if you look at the imperialists, the colonial forces, and what they took away from Africa, and you look at the independence era from the 50s, at least as far as sub-Saharan Africa is concerned, and up to this point, how long has it been? In Ghana's case, 60, 80 years. I think our leaders have done quite a bit of damage if you put them side by side with the colonizers. Because in many respects, our leaders came and we expected that things would get better. If you take out the Nkrumahs and the Azikiwes and the Lumumbas and, you know, and a few of them, it appears many of the others just came and did what the colonizers did, and in some cases, even worse. One of our major problems on the continent is leadership, and hopefully we'll start moving away from that, you know, trajectory. Government retains or remains committed to protecting workers' safety and health. Dr. Pelpool says so. Government remains committed to protecting workers' safety and health. Dr. Pelpool, the government remains committed to harnessing technology to advance workplace safety and health to protect workers in the country. That's according to the Minister for Labour, Jobs and Employment, Dr. Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpool. Namibia's Agriculture Minister sacked accused of raping 16-year-old girl 5 years ago. Now, he was nominated to Parliament by the President to represent the ruling party, SWAPO, and he was arrested on Saturday after allegedly attempting to bribe the victim, now 21, to withdraw the case against him, the police said. Mr. Hengari, 59, who has denied any wrongdoing, appeared in court on Monday and was denied bail. This is the first major scandal for Namibia's first female president, Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, since she took office sometime last month. And conclave to elect new pope to begin on May 7, Vatican says cardinals will meet next month in a secret conclave to elect the next pope, the Vatican has said. The closed-door meeting will start inside the Sistine Chapel on May the 7th and will involve some 135 cardinals from across the world, which would also mean that to become pope, whoever is elected would need 2/3, which is 90, thereabouts. There is no time scale as to how long it will take to elect the new pope, but the previous two conclaves held in 2005 and 2013 lasted just 2 days. And if you know anything about the history of the church, it's also about changes that had to be brought to bear many, many centuries ago. I think it was 10-something when there were some interesting scenes in the church. So there you have it. 3 stories for your reflection. After this, I'll do 2 more, and then it's a wrap. Prof?
Yes. It's always a tense moment when they have to elect the Pope. Strangely, I'm taking on that story because as a Christian, I'm not a Catholic, but the Catholic Church is the foundation of Christianity. And where the Catholic Church goes, eventually all of us would go there. And I'm praying that this process goes quite well and we'll have a Pope soon. But it's always an anxious period, and you enjoy it as you see black smoke changing colors up there. So I wish all Africans have the best of luck. Africa can do with a Pope, and I believe it will, if for nothing at all, get us believing in ourselves more. So we're looking forward to it. I was looking at this story of still our energy sector, the finance minister inside here. Sorry for not taking, but I took force talking about the energy sector still remaining our biggest challenge. And you hear, of course, demonstrations against and also resistance to the privatization of ECG and the rest. I'm one that was strongly against privatization because I believe that energy also has national security and survival implications. But it gets to a point where you look at how our energy sector is going now. It is linked to our economic revival. And you ask yourself, can this system as it is be normalized? And the answer is largely no. You need at least some level of participation, if not all. We need some level of private sector involvement in it to curtail the issues of mismanagement. You look at these missing containers now, and you see that the allegations are going left, right, and center. And it's not only one individual or in one political party. At a certain point in time, people you expect that were more or less some moral compasses in our country. You find their names being mentioned in this thing. It tells you how complicated the ECG thing is. And I believe that some private involvement at some certain stage would bring some sanity. The stories are bizarre and worrying, and we cannot have the backbone of the economy subjected to this level of uncertainty. We are likely going to go through another economic downturn if we don't face the energy crisis head on. It's a ticking bomb, and unpopular as it is, that discussion maybe has to go on, and I believe that all stakeholders have to see it quite differently. Otherwise, we are going to find it difficult to grow beyond that 6-7% and those things. Yes, we may manage some growth, some infinitesimal improvement, but if we are to grow as a country, we need to privatize this. And people are afraid of cost, but I've seen in some places where the privatization has actually brought down the cost because of technology. And that is one thing that people have to look at, that technology actually has the potential to bring energy cost down. And if that is where we have to go, I believe all stakeholders have to move away from the fear of somebody holding us to ransom because they're taking over our energy infrastructure. And let's allow some participation. There's no one here, like maybe I'm just saying that because I don't know how you lean, who is more resistant to private sector participation or takeover of key state enterprises. But it gets to a point where you have to ask yourself, given the current realities, the current global trends, is it realistic to operate the models we are doing? Can we have safe private sector participation? Government should still be a key stakeholder, but at some point we need to take that bold step and move forward.
What you're saying brings to mind a question. We say this is the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. At what point do we start transitioning to green energy? There are many countries, I mean developed countries. So I was reading an article, is it Japan or so? They've installed some sort of technology in the ground. So when you step on the ground, you're powering the city. You know, there are various ways of generating energy rather than the old ways that we know and are used to. Maybe perhaps we can start exploring other ways of generating power, and then slowly we can transition into green energy and more sustainable ways.
What I'd like to say about that is it's an issue of cost. You see, it's an issue for green transition is huge. And that's why the president has seen the need to more or less designate the Ministry of Energy to be a Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. The green transition requires us to build a robust economic system that involves us looking at green financing, building our infrastructure to, if possible, begin issuing green bonds and other things to finance this energy transition. Yes, the technology is there, but the initial investments are quite high for developing countries. And to do that, we need to find somebody willing to invest in it. We are already having crisis getting external funding. Now, what I think we could do is also to begin to explore the areas of green financing. And the Ministry of Energy, as part of its responsibility in ensuring that there is green transition, has to work with the Ministry of Finance to build this infrastructure so that we can leverage whatever resources are available through green finance and to invest in this massive green technology and then bring down the cost of energy eventually. That's what I think we need.
Right. I'll wrap with these stories very quickly. Dr. Nyahota Maklo cautions against corruption in political and judicial systems. A founding member of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Nyahota Maklo, has cautioned that Ghana risks a mass revolt if entrenched corruption within both political and judicial systems is not addressed. He accused successive governments since independence of perpetuating corruption, describing it as a national canker that permeates all levels of leadership, including the youth entering politics. He lamented the country's slow progress despite gaining independence over 6 decades ago, drawing comparisons with Malaysia, which he said started on a similar footing with Ghana. He was speaking at the West Africa International Press Limited That's its 2025 Eminent Africans Global Integrity Conference and Awards. And I'll wrap with this. Dr. Bawumia's thank you tour message should be solution-driven, Professor Ali Duseidu says so. A senior lecturer at the Department of Political Science and Research, fellow at the Center for Asian Studies at the University of Ghana, has criticized the timing and messaging of the New Patriotic Party's flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's ongoing thank you tour following the party's defeat in the 2024 general elections. According to him, the focus of the tour should have been less on recounting the reasons for the party's loss and more on presenting solutions and a clear path forward. I'll quote him here, and that's it. The thank you tour at this time is not the most appropriate. I was expecting an internal consensus on the right strategy. When you go to the people, you shouldn't just tell them why you lost. You should tell them what you are going to do to fix it, he said in an interview on Joy News on Sunday. That's it for me.
There's a story here I just want to put out. You can read it for yourself on myjoyonline.com. Late Nigerian gospel musician Osinachi's husband sentenced to death by hanging. And I'm just happy to hear this. I have no sympathy for abusers, manipulators, people who want to suck the life out of you even before you die. And so if the courts have sentenced this man to death by hanging, I say, hey, justice. Prof, thank you so much for coming.
Well, death is...
It's the law, Ben. It's the law. Yeah.
It is the law. Death is something I am never... Sentencing to death is something I am never comfortable with. And thankfully in Ghana, I mean, we've gone through quite a period. You would realize that even when it comes to the death penalty, we've practically not used it in quite a long while. There are people whose actions merit certain things. But I'm always cautious around, pulling the death card. It's pretty...
Late, but justice has been served. Professor Michael Ayamga, thank you for coming. He's Deputy Director of Operations at the EPA.
Oh, I didn't get to ask him do you have any brief reactions on the last stories?
On Osinachi's...
Ali Duseidu.
Yes, I would take Ali Duseidu's comment. I also found Dr. Bawumia's thank you tour rather premature. And...
Has to be very brief, though.
Yeah. I think that the party needs to face reality. They are trying to, what they are doing is akin trying to stage a fake miracle. The problem in the party is deeper than they are trying to admit. And the process of healing has to go on. You have emerged from an election battered, leaderless, structureless, and that is what you're supposed to focus on. I don't think that Ghanaians want you to come and thank them for voting you out.
But they have a right to do that.
They have a right to do that. As to whether it is the... You see, I want to have a robust political alternative in this country, regardless of where my allegiance goes. So it is not realistic to see people already trying funny things to stage a claim to the current state of the party. So when you see people telling lies about either planes flying and dropping cocaine or other things, it's just that they think, okay, this is something I have to do to stage a claim in the party now. I don't think all we are seeing is solving new patriotic parties through challenges, and they need to be realistic to themselves.
Happy birthday to Jaden Otutu Enumunyam Kwesi Owusu Odame of Mary Mother of Good Counsel School. As was said of the boy Jesus at the age of 12 years and Daniel, so will your life and experiences be all the days of your life, in Jesus' name. It's from your parents, Jada, your sister, and the extended family. Also this one, from a secret admirer to Evelyn Kofi in Takrady. Happy birthday. May the Almighty God protect, guide you, and grant you long life. May all that your heart desires come to pass. Enjoy your day to the full. Why do we write this thing in Ghana, though, to the fullest? What does that mean? To the full. And it's... But anyway, these are two requests I got, which I have put out. I have duly done my job.
Enjoyment they want you to get to. And that wraps the news review segment, but we can't...